Today I'm going to be working on a chandelier that we found at a local supplier. It's called Stardust. It's located, the one we actually went to was a location located out in Glendale. And my mother and I always like to stop by there and kind of rummage through a lot of their different stuff. There's a lot of discounts that are there, so you never know what you're going to find. So we found this beautiful chandelier you can see over here. I'm going to start working on it and putting together the pieces. The lighting is going to be going up on Monday, so I have one day to pull this off, and I need to get the chandelier scraped and painted. Obviously, it's going to be repurposed, so it's an older one. It needs to get a little bit of paint on it. So what I've decided to use is, if you can see, these are some wingback chairs that we had painted in the past. They need to be painted and touched up. We'll be putting those in the garden room. But I came across some spray paint I really like. It's by Rust-OLEUM, and it looks like it's a ultra cover paint and primer. And it's the black flat that we'll be using. So I think it'll work really well. We have, if you look right here, we have a lot of the black kind of matte iron wood that we'll be using in the home. So I think this is gonna work out. Really excited. So I'm gonna get busy and get started on the chandelier, and I'll show you the progress as it goes. So right now I'm just going to start wiping down the pieces of the chandelier that I completely took apart. It had a lot of pieces and I needed to separate them all because I want to make sure I get a really good complete paint job on these. So just kind of wiping them down. When we purchased them, we obviously did kind of blow them off and wipe them down, but since they've been in and out of the home and we've been trying to figure out where we're going to put the chandelier, they were doing some drywall repair. So some dust got on them, and I want to make sure that there's absolutely no dust on these when I paint them. Obviously the paint won't stick. So I'm just going to take some time, wipe this down really good, and then I'll get started on the paint. Okay, so I just laid everything out. Everything is wiped down as good as I can do it. And what I'm gonna do is go ahead and just make sure that my rattle can is shaken, where I can hear that little ball in there, and make sure everything is working well in there before I go ahead and shoot the paint on there. These have been sitting a little bit, so I really wanna make sure that the paint comes out of them really well. So I'm gonna go ahead and start painting them. I want to make sure I don't put too much on there because I definitely don't want them to drip, because this chandelier is hanging in the staircase. So when you're upstairs, you're definitely going to be able to see it. As I'm working on it, I'll talk a little bit about it. When we purchased it, there were no light bulbs in it. And so I am currently looking for some type of beautiful chandelier light bulbs that I feel will work really well in there. I also am planning to use some kind of glass votives to go over those. So like I said, this is a total project and I'm just trying to get creative, and I love when I have pieces in the home that are very, very unique and kind of just use our little thought process to put it together, and it's not store-bought where everything's like perfect. So that's what adds a creativity to a home when you're working on a home. If you want to take the time to do this, I think it's worth it, because you can add a lot of really important pieces in your home. So when it's all finished and you're walking around, you know that you put some time and energy into that, and it means a lot more. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep going here. Over last week, we were pretty busy, and I found out recently that we had to have this chandelier by Monday. So I feel very strapped for time here, but you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And that's what we're doing. We went last week and we picked out our kitchen island countertop. So I will be doing another video on that, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We love it. And so we've been really, really busy trying to jockey everything around, but if you've watched my other videos, if you've been there and done this, you'll get through it, and You just gotta keep going and stay strong. And like you know, we've had some issues with the build, and it's been very, very stressful, but sometimes working on projects like this helps minimize that. Kind of brain gets away, can get to the creativity part of it, and realize that it's not going to be forever, that a home remodel is going to happen. So we just need to stick through it and get through it. So just kind of finish this. What I'll do is I'll give this some time to set. The original chandelier color was not that bad. It's just definitely not the vibe I'm trying to feel in the home. So I may have to do a second coat on it. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep an eye on it and see how it dries. So while this is drying, I'm gonna take a break and I'll be back. I ended up using this little hook, and it's just something I found in the garage, but I'm actually going to use it to hold this so I can get a better spray paint on it. It's also better to use this too because I can turn it as I need to, really make sure that I'm not missing any parts. So I am doing, this is the second coat. I've actually added a coat to the rest of the stuff on the table. Just gonna set that down, and I won't do the underneath until that dries, and then I can get where I just had this, so if it took any of the paint off. So I went ahead and I did a whole second coat on everything. I actually, over here, I took a piece of foam and stuck the little knob that actually turns on the top of the chandelier, because I felt like it was rocking all over the table, and so that'll keep the paint on it and it won't wear off. So I went ahead and did another second coat on the chain, so I'm gonna give it a little bit more time to dry. So everything at this point has a second coat. We'll flip it over and we'll do another second coat. Okay, so these have been drying for probably about, I'd say, maybe 45 minutes, and I did a second coat on them. So I've now flipped them over. The plastic's getting a little bit tacky, so I just need to be careful I don't set the new freshly painted stuff back on the sticky plastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing over again, just the other side. What I've found is just by picking these up, they're still a little bit tacky, but it'll be fine. Kind of sometimes get a little bit on your glove, it's fine. And then kind of rolling it. It's getting a little breezy. Obviously, you know, we live mountaintop, so you can hear stuff blowing away right now. But yeah, so the wind kind of, you got to get a little bit closer with the spray paint can, but I just need to be careful that I don't overdo it and end up with drips. So I'm gonna actually just lay this down on an area that I feel did not get too much overspray paint on them earlier. So I'm just gonna keep going with these. Couldn't be a better day to do this though. Maybe a little bit breezy, but it is absolutely beautiful here in Cape Creek, Arizona. You can hear all the birds out there. I actually had to switch out my gloves when I took a break, but it was probably better because obviously I'm not using a wire to have these hung. So get a little bit on the gloves. And this doesn't have to be a perfect project. Nothing's perfect. You can do the best you can do. A little bit, finger here. So just gonna use a rag and kind of wipe off some of this so I don't have to change out the gloves. It's not that big of a deal. Just keep going. So far, so good. I have one brand new can. Sounds like I probably have about maybe more than half left, which is good. So hopefully I won't use more than, I'd say 2. I still have to get to the main chandelier, which you guys haven't seen, so keep watching and I'll be doing that. In the meantime, while I was letting these dry, I had to get a little bit creative, and I didn't want to tape off every single chandelier area where the actual light goes. So what I ended up doing is I found an old paper towel roll, and I've actually found 2 of them, and I cut them into little increments. So I'll show you when I get to that point. So I'm gonna go ahead and, that's still a little bit tacky. I did flip the chain over, so I moved it to another area so it didn't stick. We couldn't decide when we were trying to figure out what chandelier to put above the staircase, because when you come in the entrance and you turn and you look, obviously it's going to make a statement. So is the kitchen island. Those are the ones we wanted to be our main statement. So we ended up choosing this one. We were going to go with something very simplistic and modern, but we felt like this one just had a lot of personality. So what we're gonna do is this is actually gonna be kind of the base of where we're starting the lighting. And then what I'm gonna do is we'll feed off of this and kind of get the vibe of how this is pulling once we get it up. And then we can make the decisions in the rest of the rooms. We did get some other ones from Stardust, and they need to be repurposed like these. We're really excited about them, but a lot of our lighting in our home has 2 side by side. And unfortunately, when you go to those discount places, you can only find like 1 of each. So we're going to try to figure out how we can pull that off. So I'm going to continue painting this. It's getting a little bit breezy and I'm running out of time. So I'll come back and I'll show you when I get the chandelier up here and show you how I tape that. Okay, so as I'm finishing the second coat, basically the final coat, I'm going to go ahead and transfer these pieces over to this foam that I have that I had actually stuck that top piece of the chandelier in to keep it more stable when I spray painted it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these, put them on the foam. So when I move the chandelier over here, I have all this room. I'm probably going to flip this plastic over because it's really starting to get a little bit tacky and I don't want the chandelier to stick on there as I'm finishing it up. I'm trying to hustle along here. It's getting really windy, so it's probably going to get windier later today. Having a hard time with the spray paint. I'm probably ending up with more on my arm than I am the actual chandelier pieces. I'm really happy that I did a second coat. I feel like it just like finished it more. Just glancing over. Trying to make sure this chain gets quite a bit on it, just enough to where it doesn't drip, but it also can coat it fairly good. So when the electrician goes ahead and hangs it, I'm sure it's going to wiggle around a lot, and so we might get a couple areas. Yeah, as you can see, the plastic's starting to blow. It's starting to get windy, so I'm going to hustle along here, and I'll start to show you how I'm going to prepare the chandelier. Okay, so I have now put those aside. They're drying. They're pretty much done, and now here is the chandelier, and it's a two-piece, almost kind of like a wagon wheel effect, I would say. But I've separated the pieces, taken all the screws apart so that we could open this wide open. I figured since this has the hooks on it, and when I flip it over after I paint it, it's gonna rub on that. So what I'm going to do is actually flip this over, paint that, get that completely dry, and then when I flip it over, this will be the last where it won't be rubbing. So what I did while I was taking a break, I took a paper towel holder, the leftover cardboard, I cut it into multiple pieces. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna stick these around the ceramic candle or light holders. So what I'm gonna do is then I'll put some tape over the top of them to protect them so nothing gets in them. So I'm looking right now for some kind of iron caps that can work over the ceramic that won't overheat. And like I said, that's kind of we're not there yet, but when we get there, I'm going to get a little bit more creative, and I'll do a video on that as well when it's all put together. So I'm going to go ahead and place these and put them in place, and then put some tape on and start the painting. Okay, so I just finished prepping and wiping everything down, make sure there wasn't dust on anything. Like I said earlier, I don't want to use a wet rag because I'm so strapped for time that I feel like if there's any water, the paint is not going to stick. So the wind has calmed down a little bit. I'm just going to take an old glove that I had already used, just repurpose it, and throw these cords in there so that I can kind of protect them. And I'll be careful with the spray paint, but I just want to make sure, forbid anything gets on it. So wrap those up. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Make sure I have enough room here. It's hard to work with these because I can't separate them, because if you can see, there's actually a cord holding them both together. So when they hang below each other, that cord ties in the electricity for the next one. So I'm going to try to do my best here, and we'll just have to play it by ear and see what happens. So I'm going to get started and grab my rattle can, start painting. Been a little bit of a time since I let it dry, so I just want to make sure that I am making sure to shake up the rattle can. I don't know what is on there. Should we get that off? Looks like it's a part of the metal, so I can probably leave that. So like I said, I'm going to start on this side, so when I flip it over, those hooks aren't going to get all worn out while it's sitting on the table and I'm tossing it around trying to get it painted. So I'm going to start at the bottom, so when I flip it over, it has time to dry. Go around all the different rings. I like to do sections because then I know where I left off. Sometimes when you're painting something that's already almost kind of similar to the color, you might lose where you left off. So kind of keeps things in check. I'm just going to follow this ring all the way around. I should have technically done this earlier in the morning, but as you know, we have several companies, and one of the companies is a greeting card company. I don't know if you guys have visited the Hatch and Cloak website, but we have a greeting card company called It's the Small Things That Matter. And as you know, if you read the website at hatchandcloak.com, my mother is an artist, and she draws all the greeting cards. So they're very pretty, and we've been working on those in our busy schedule. So they're very, very pretty, and we are currently working with different showrooms, trying to see where they're gonna best fit in. As you know, before we owned a clothing line, and our baby clothing line was in showrooms throughout the United States. So we've kind of gotten out of that, and I've tried to turn the company more lifestyle. So that's where we're at now. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and hit the tops of all of these. There were some little screws underneath the bottoms of these. So I lightly loosen them just so when I spray the paint, it doesn't stick them together, and then we cannot unscrew them. Like I said, I'm gonna put another second coat on these, so anything that was missed is gonna be okay. I'll go back and hit them again. Go ahead and do this side. There's a bar that connects them like the ones I painted single earlier, but I'm gonna go ahead and that's what connects them with the electrical wire going between them. So I have to keep that on there. So I'm just hitting that right now with the spray paint if you can't see that. Like this rattle can's almost out, so I'm gonna use up the rest of it and give it some time to dry. Okay, so I have just flipped it over and I finished. I ended up taking the paper towel rolls that I told you about, and I wrapped them around. I cut them to little pieces, and then I took probably about I'd say a 2 to 3 inch strip of the painter's tape, and I went over the top. So that's gonna prevent any spray paint from getting in the threads and protect that. So once it's all dry, I'll end up taking those off. But right now I needed to get those on there so I can go ahead and finish the final paint. Okay, so I just finished spraying the second coat on the chandelier, and we are extremely happy about it. The paint came out beautiful. I love the matte. And if I didn't mention the paint that we use, it was by Rust-OLEUM, and it's called Painter's Touch 2-Time Ultra Cover Paint and Primer. We did pick black flat. We love it because it just works with all the different metals and iron works we have around here. This paint, it looks like you can use it on wood, metal, plastic, and more. So it worked well on this chandelier. I just need to give it time to dry, and we have through the night. And once it's dry, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the cardboard pieces that I taped in there to protect the lighting threads. So I still need to figure out what lighting and what light bulbs I want to go with, and then also possibly I want to put some glass pillars in here. I haven't decided yet. So if you guys have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. Just add any comments or descriptions you might think I might be interested in. I love to hear feedback. And so tomorrow the electrician is supposed to arrive in the morning to install this. So I'm going to make sure it's super wrapped up so it doesn't chip and we don't lose any of the paint that I just worked so hard on. So stay tuned, and you can follow all the different playlists I've added. I have a lot of different phases, from phase 1 to phase 2 to all the different phases of the home, and good and bad. So you guys can follow our story. It's very, very interesting. If you haven't seen phase 1, it's a must watch. So follow us, and I'm happy to share any more do-it-yourself projects. I love to be able to show you guys how you don't have to have a huge budget to be able to make a beautiful home. You can find a lot of these different anything from furniture to chandeliers. You can find any of these pieces at discount stores, which we did, and we love it because you can spend time with your family members or friends, and it's just good to talk about memories, etc. So this was such a special piece, and it's going to be very special in the home. So we're really, really excited to see it. So we'll keep you updated, and thank you for joining. It's the small things that matter.